cameras, teachers, please assist. Subject advisors, please assist for me. Once already I can't see who's behind me because my visualizer is on and my camera is what you see is what I see now on my screen. I can't see behind me to see whose camera is on to stop cameras and so on. So subject advisors and teachers can just assist me there so that we can once again have a pleasant webinar today. Without further ado, when I say something, I will show my face again, but if not, then you will just see my question paper and my answer book as I'm explaining how to get through these questions. Let's start this webinar. Okay, we will start with question number 1. Lady, I think your mic is on. Okay. Question number 1, the bank reconciliation statement. Once again, I want to remind you to focus this weekend on practicing your time management because often we complain we don't get through our papers, but we spend too much time on a particular question. The bank reconciliation, we're doing it for Bushless stores. The following information relates to Bushless stores for May 2022. Calculate the correct totals in the cash journals on the 31st of May. Calculate the correct bank account balance on the 31st of May and prepare the bank reconciliation statement on the 31st of May. Mr. Paul Petty is the finance clerk at Bushless Stores. He has been responsible for all finance activities by himself since the inception of the store. He made several mistakes and the owner has not taken any action. As the internal audit of Bushless Stores, you are not happy with the control of cash in this business. Explain one problem to confirm your concern and give advice on how the problem can be avoided in the future. Okay, I'm going to take my question paper away. You follow on your question paper. Extract from the bank reconciliation statement. The extract from the bank reconciliation statement is normally a bank reconciliation statement for the previous year. Now, what is the purpose of the bank reconciliation statement? A bank reconciliation statement is one of our internal control measures that we put in place to safeguard our asset, namely our cash, right? So this is to make sure that our cash is not stolen or somebody is not committing any fraud in terms of our cash funds that we have in the business. So every month, a business is supposed to do a bank reconciliation. For the bank reconciliation, you need your cash receipts journal, your cash payments journal, your bank account, and your bank statement. So what are we doing? We're comparing our bank statement, which comes from the bank. So it's an outside document that's coming in from outside into our business, and we compare that bank statement with our cash journals. And then we are supposed, whatever we see in our journals, we're supposed to see on the bank statement. But because that's not the case, that's where your reconciliation comes into play. Your reconciliation then aims to reconcile your books with the bank's books, right? So when you look at your bank statement and you find items on your bank statement and it's not in your journals, then you must go and put it in your journals. If you find items on your journals that's not on the bank statement, then you must go and put it on the bank reconciliation statement. So the bank reconciliation is where you basically rectify the bank's books, right? So if you find something in your journals, it's not on the bank statement, you put it on the bank reconciliation statement, right? You find something on the bank statement, it's not in our journals, you go and place it in our journals, right? Now, what's the purpose of this bank reconciliation? Last month, you identified some amounts here that was not fully taken care of. Now, you normally start with this BRS to see were those amounts now taken into account. if I look at these two deposits, they were not taken into account. Did not appear on the bank statement last time. We had one on the 15th of April, one on the 30th of April. So did not appear on the bank statement. That's why they appeared on the BRS. Now I expect when I open my bank statement to see these two amounts first, because they should have appeared on the previous one already, right? The same with your outstanding EFTs. You expect to see these amounts on the bank statement. If they now appear on the bank statement, then there's no problem. Then I can just cancel it, right? And now additional information will tell us more whether we should cancel it or we must do something more, or it's still outstanding for another month, or there's a problem in terms, if I look at my outstanding cash deposit on the 15th of April, we are now at the end of May, they should have appeared already, then it tells me already there's going to be a problem with those amounts. Okay. Then information B, you have the provisional totals in the cash journals. So these are the totals that your bank, remember, you do your journals on a daily basis. So when you get to the end of the month, you already have a full cash journal, a full cash payments journal. So you are just going to make supplementary entries. That's why when you have your answer book, these two amounts are already on the answer books. And you must remember, when you have printed figures, to always include it here at the end, because these totals, they will say, you can get the method mark here, provided this total has been included. And often when you write your own figures, you forget to include that total, and you just, let's say we have a 3,000, you just put a 3,000 there instead of putting a 63,000 something there, right? So you must always remember to also include these provisional totals in your calculations. Okay. So to the next page. Okay, here we have entries in the cash journals for May 2022 that do not agree with the May bank statement. So these entries are in the cash journals, but they do not agree with the May bank statement. So if they are in our journals, but not in the bank statement, what must I do? It goes to my BRS. Okay, so here I have, and you would remember, I always say, I read my information and then I go and place my information in the relevant places. I don't like to do this up and down, right? I had no information on my BRS in the beginning, so I couldn't do it. The provisional totals is on my answer book, so now I'm at C now. So let's read and then we place our figures in the relevant places. We have a deposit. This is your CRJ. And we have a deposit slip for sales of 54,000. Remember, they say these entries were in the journals, but they did not appear on the bank statement. So what must I do with this 54,370? I take it to my BRS. Let's do that quickly. Okay. If I look at my BRS, what is the first thing that I write on my BRS? Will have a debit or a credit balance according to the bank statement, right? Which I don't know at the beginning whether it's a debit or a credit, right? Because I haven't read anything about my balance. Let's continue. Just a reminder again, switch off your cameras and switch off your mics, please. You can hear me, but you don't have to have your mics on, because I don't want to hear you on that side unless you want to say something to me, please. Okay. Balance, I said balance according to your bank statement. I've not read anything about that now, so I don't have anything to write there at the moment. Then I have my outstanding. I'm going to credit my outstanding deposits. And I have one, the 54,370. I'm writing it on my BRS 54,370. You can mark yours or write it in as well. Then there's another deposit of 26,300. I'm also going to write that in my BRS. 26,300. Okay. Now I have my CPJ. Okay. We have Ivory Limited EFT for 1,780. Okay. And then I'm just going to make an asterisk here because I see another Ivory Limited. And then I have EFT 3,660, right? So I said they don't appear, they should appear. If they are not in my journals, they should appear in my, if they are not in my cash journals, and they are in my cash journals, not on my bank statement, they should appear in my BRS. I'm going to write this 1,780 in pencil because I see another 1,780 there. So that I can erase it again if I don't need it. You understand? So don't mark this one. I'm just writing it there, 1,780 in pencil because I see another amount there. That's the same amount, right? And then I write the 3,660, 3,660. That we can write with our pen, 3,660. And that is your debit, your outstanding EFTs, right? Okay, so far so good. Now we have items on the bank statement dated the 31st of May that do not agree with the May cash journals. Remember, if you find things on the bank statement and they are not in your journals, we're going to add it to our journals, right? So here we have a deposit, and now we can compare this bank statement with our previous BRS, right? So the first thing that we have, a deposit of 21,640. Where did you previously see that deposit? On the last month's BRS. Let's just go back to it. There it is, which means we can tick that off our list. There's no entry because last month it was outstanding and this month it is still outstanding. So we've accounted for that figure, right? The balance per bank statement, the opening one, we never use this one. We want the closing one that's not given to us here, right? So two figures I've ticked off my list already. Let's see if we can get some more information. Then they say there was a direct transfer to JB Stores, 13,800. Okay. 13,000 direct transfer to JB Stores of 13,800. There was a direct transfer to Atlas, 19,600, 19,700. Let's look for the 13,800 quickly. There is my 13,800. So once again, no entry because it appears on, it was outstanding last month and now it appears on my bank statement. So no entry, right? Here I have 435 dated 30 April, but my amount is 17,900. Look at this amount, 19,700. There's something wrong with that amount. Let's see what they say to us. Look at the note. It says EFT 435, the bank statement is correct, which means this amount is correct, but that other amount, the 17,000, is not correct. And if you have two amounts, you have 19,700 and you have 17,900. What is the first thing that you do? You calculate the difference between the two. So let's calculate the difference. 19,700 minus 17,900. This was a payment, right? It says a direct transfer to Atlas. Direct transfer to Atlas. So this was a payment. Now, if you look at this, it says the bank statement was correct. So the bank recorded the correct amount of 19,700. But in my records, the amount is incorrect at 17,900, which means it is 1,800 short. I need to put another 1,800 in my cash payments journal because this was a payment. So I'm writing 1,800 in my cash payment. Why? The amount should have been 19,700, but now it was only 17,900 as per my outstanding or my previous BRS. Okay, let's move on. So we've now dealt with this one, we've dealt with that one, and I've dealt with that one, right? Debit order for insurance, 1,670. So 1,670 must go to my CPJ. So let's put it there, 1,670. Okay, remember it's on the bank statement, so now I have to add it to my CPJ. Okay, so I've dealt with that one. Then there's a, remember I said there's something that I noticed about this one. There's a 1780. It says direct from Ivory Limited. Yet it appears in my CPJ. Can you see there's a mistake there? There's Ivory Limited, there's Ivory Limited, which means this 1780. Let's see if they say anything to us. They don't say, but this is a direct deposit from Avery Limited. Yet in our records, it's recorded in the CPJ. So I have to correct, first I have to correct that error of 1,780 that should not be in the CPJ. It's supposed to be up here because it's a direct deposit that we received. And then I have to record the actual amount that's supposed to go to the CRJ, which means we will have the double up principle. Let's do that. So first I will have plus 1,780. What is the first one for? To rectify the error. That amount is not supposed to be in the CPJ because we received that money from Avery Limited. Okay. And then I have to record the actual amount of 1,780. If you have added the two together, then that is also fine. So 1,780 plus 1,780, it will give us 3,560. So if you have 3,000, I'm just going to write it here. If you have these two added, can also give me 3,560. Okay. If you have 3,560, then you get your marks there for that one. Okay. And now we can see we don't need that other figure um, in my BRS. So I'm just going, if you have your eraser, then you can just cancel it there, right? Cancel it there. That's why I said let's write it in pencil so that you can understand why I'm not taking it here, because it was an error in my CPJ. Okay. Right, let's continue. Then there's a deposit. Where did you see this deposit of 15 April? And now the amount is 10,080. There's something wrong with this amount. Where did you see this date? I saw it on my previous BRS. There it is, 15 April, but look at the amount, 12,080. If you have two amounts, what's the first thing that you have to do? 12,080 minus 2,000 minus 10,080. So 12,080, my brain working a little bit faster than my pen there, giving me 2,000, right? Okay, now let's see if we get any more information. So according to our records, we deposited 12,080. but the bank only received 10,000. There's a difference of 2,000. And one of our GAR principles, prudence, says that we must take the most conservative approach and see that as a possible loss in our business, right? So that 2,000, I'm going to take it to my CPJ because I see it as a loss in my business. I see my additional information doesn't give me anything. Okay, so 2,000, I'm going to take it to my CPJ. Why? Because I see this 2,000 as a loss. I received 12,080, yet the money that was deposited in the bank was only 10,080. So we have a loss of 2,000. And like I said, according to prudence, we record that 2,000 as a possible loss. We will try and recover the money from the bookkeeper, but at this stage, that money can't be accounted for, so we record it as a loss. Okay. So I've dealt with all the items on my old BRS. Can you see that? Okay, let's see. Here we have another 1,670, also debit order from insurance, and another debit order from insurance, which means one of them is a mistake, right? And the mistake is on the bank statement. So I've already recorded this first 1,670. So I must now go to my BRS to rectify this error. And if I look at bullet number 2, it says a debit order for insurance was duplicated in error. The bank will correct this in June. So this is correction of error. I'm going to take it to my BRS. And remember, it's a payment, so it was previously on the debit side. Now to correct the error, I must put on the credit side. So correction of error, correction of error. Okay. Then we have internet banking fee. This is the fee that I'm paying, so it goes to my CPJ. And then I have service fees, 475. You can add these two amounts, or if you showed it separately, that's also fine. But the best would be to add it. Normally, we show our interest separately, and we add all our bank charges under your bank charges, right? So 176 plus 475 gives us 651, which is your bank charges. If I look at my interest, 315, it's on the credit side. So that's interest on a positive balance. So I'm going to take that amount to my CRJ. Okay, so I've now dealt with all my amounts. Can you see how when you do them one by one as you read them, you don't have this up and down. So don't do all your journals first, then you're looking for your bank amounts, then you're doing your bank reconciliation. No, no, no. You read your information, you have an answer sheet in front of you. You can work, it's your answer sheet. You work anywhere that you want to. As soon as you get your information, you read it and you go and place it in the relevant figure, in the relevant places. I've now read all my information. There's nothing more for me to read. I'm going to finalize now my totals and my balances, right? So remember what I said. You take your provisional total, 60,334, plus that 3,560, plus that 315, and it gives you 64,209. Right. Let's do on this side. 34,865 plus 1,800 plus 1,670 plus 2,000 plus 651, and it gives us 40,986. 986. Then the second part of our question says calculate the correct bank balance. Now you can draw a little T account, and I know this cash payments will go to this side, 4986, and this one will go to 64209. So this one comes down That one comes down. Remember, when you bring your totals down, right or wrong, you're getting what we call a method mark. But don't change your figures now when you get down here. You use the same figures from up there, then already you have 2 out of those 5 marks for yourself, right? Okay, now what do I need? I need a bank balance. Where can I get this bank balance, right? I can get it from my previous bank reconciliation. Because remember, if you know the format of the bank reconciliation, once we've calculated the balance here, debit or credit, it goes down to my to my bank reconciliation. So it will be bank balance or balance according to bank account, right? Okay. So then where does this come from? From your balance in your ledger, right? So now if I don't have my balance, I can use my previous month's BRS to get my balance. Let's do that quickly. Okay. I'm going to make a little T account here for us, right? So that we can see what's happening. Your balance as per the bank statement was a debit balance. Can you see that? 36,294. Why is it the debit balance? Because it is in brackets. Then we have outstanding deposit, 12,080. Then we have another outstanding deposit, 21,640. Then we have outstanding EFTs, 13,800. And we have another outstanding EFT, 17,900. Now we can balance this account. Remember, I want my bank balance from this information, right? So let's help me here with this one. 36,294 plus 13,800 plus 17,900. It gives us 67,994. 67,994. Okay. Minus 21,640 minus 12,080. It gives me 34,274. And what kind of balance is on this side? It's an unfavorable balance because remember, when the balance comes from your bank account, if it's on the debit side, it comes straight to the debit side of the BRS. If it's a credit balance, it comes straight to the credit side of the BRS. So this one is a credit balance. So which means it is in brackets, right? So let's take it. So it must go this side, 34,274. And now I can balance to find my new balance, right? Okay, help me with this one. So it's 4986 plus 34,274. And it gives us 75,260. And the two sides will be the same, 75,260. And it's minus 64,209, which gives me 11,051. Let's put it here, or here rather, and 51, which means it goes down to my credit side. It's then a credit balance of 11,051. So this is a credit balance, and I'm going to put it on my credit side. 11,051. Where does it come from? From my bank account, right? Now I can balance my account to find this missing bank balance. Let's do it. 54,000. Help me here with this one. 370 plus 26,300 plus 1,670 plus 11,051, and it gives us 93,391. And we know the two sides must be the same. So I'm going to make them the same. Then I'm going to say minus my 3,660, and it gives me 89,731. Okay, there we go. That is your BRS. Okay. 1.1.4. Mr. Pooh is the finance clerk at Bushley. He has been responsible for all finance activities by himself since the inception of the store. He made several mistakes and the owner has not taken any action as the internal auditor of Bushley stores. You are not happy with the control of cash in the business. Explain one problem to confirm your concern and quote figures. Okay, the first problem that I already pick up is this 12,000. Remember, we have this 12,080, but when the money was deposited in the bank, it was only 10,080. So there's 2,000 Rand short, right? Another problem that we picked up is this EFT here. It was supposed to be money received, supposed to go to our CPJ, but it was recorded here in the CPJ, right? So it was supposed to go CRJ, it is in CPJ. That's also a problem, right? Another problem that I can see for me is the many outstanding deposits here. There's 12. This one was on the 15th of April. It was only paid on the next month, right? So it looks like a possible rolling of cash. What is rolling of cash? Normally the cashier takes the money for themselves or some of the money and only pay a little bit of that money. Then the next day they take today's earnings and they make up yesterday's money again to try and cover their tracks, right? We call that rolling of cash. But at a point they take too much of money, then it becomes difficult for them to make up that money all the time. And that's when you end up with thinking you have a 12,000 deposit, but actually you only have 10,000 Rand money deposited. And that's exactly why we're doing the bank reconciliation to pick up on errors like that before it becomes big amounts, right? Okay, that is your question on BRS. I'll give you a chance now to ask questions. Let's just do the age analysis. Debtors age analysis. Age analysis talks or analyzes how the debtors pay us. It's not about the debtor's age, but it's the age of the debt that they owe us, right? How long do they have this debt? Do they stay within their credit limits? Do they stay within the credit terms? If you look at this particular business, the credit terms is 30 days. Now, what is credit terms? Is the days or the months that you are given to repay your debts. In this case, it's 30 days. So we expect all our debtors to be within that 30 days. The minute you're not in that 30 days, then you are not complying with the credit terms. So anyone that lies here in the 60 days or 90 days, they are not complying with the credit terms. Then our second concept that we are looking at is credit limit. There's your credit limit. What is a credit limit? A credit limit is the maximum amount that a debtor is given or the amount that they are given to say you can buy as a person, as Miss Andrews, we give you 7,000 Rand credit. You cannot exceed that credit, that 7,000 unless they give you. Okay. All right, let's start again. One of our teachers listening just said, ma'am, slow down, you are too fast. So I must slow down a little bit more. Okay, age analysis, as I was saying, the age analysis gives us the age of the debts of the debtors. It analyzes how well they pay their accounts. And then I said, we have two things that we are looking at. We're looking at credit terms and we are looking at credit limits. What is the credit terms? In this particular case, the credit term is the accounts must be settled within 30 days, right? Which means we give them 30 days to pay their accounts. So anyone who falls outside this 30 days, in the 60 days or 90-day brackets, they are not complying with the credit terms. And then I said we have credit limit. Credit limit is the amount of credit that I am allowed based on my salary, based on my disposable income. Remember, when you apply for credit at a store like say Edgar's or Truett's, they look at your salary They look at where you are employed and all these things to see if you are credit worthy. And then base a person say earning 10,000 will have a lower credit limit than a person earning 50,000, because the person earning 50,000 can obviously afford to pay back more of the credit, right? Even if you look at our debtors here, Dawood is on 4,000, Kramer on 7,000, Boozer on 3,000, and Camphor on 5,000, which means they have different limits, and these limits were based on how much they can afford to repay us, right? Which means Kramer, I would say, is earning a little bit more than Boozer because Boozer's credit limit is very low. But now your job is to see that, okay, Dawood has a credit limit of 4,000, but look at his amount owing, 6,800. So he's way over the credit limit, right? Look at Kramer, 7,000, 7,000. He's within his credit limit, right? Which is good. Then we look at Boozer, 3,500. That's very good because he's not using all his available credit, right? Look at Camphor, 5,500. So Kramer is just at 500 over his limit, but he must not be over his limit. Otherwise, we say we're not managing our debtors well because they're supposed to stick to the credit terms and they're supposed to be within their credit limits, right? Let's look at the question quickly. How does the preparation of a debtor's age analysis assist the the business in controlling their debtors? How does the preparation of a debtor's age analysis assist the business in controlling their debtors? I said to you, you can identify debtors who do not comply. So you identify the ones who do not comply. If they don't comply, you're not supposed to give them more credit. Or if you have good debtors who you see they are paying well and you can allow them a little bit more credit, then you allow them more credit. So that's how the debtors age analysis assists you to identify debtors who pay on time, the ones who don't pay on time, the ones who stick to the credit limit, the ones who's over their credit limit, and also you need to charge their accounts interest if they now don't stick to their credit terms, right? So those are all the things that the debtors age analysis is helping you with. Number two, identify two problems shown in the age analysis. What are those two problems? When you go on Monday, you already have those two problems in your mind. Credit limit, credit term. Shown in the age analysis below, quote evidence. When they say evidence, they want the name of the debtor and the amounts, right? Quote evidence and figures to support your answer. And each case suggests an internal control measure to correct the problem. So let's start with credit limit. I already said Dawood. I can clearly see Dawood is way over. So your first answer is credit limit. You identify the problem. And then you say the person who's doing it is A.S. Dawood. Okay. The person who's the first thing you write is S. Dawood, the name of the debtor, and then you say the credit limit is 4,000. Remember, you're not supposed to see me.
No, we cannot see the screen.
Learners, you are not supposed to see me. If you see me, then the screen is much smaller, so you must just see the question paper and hear my voice. If I want to say something to you, you don't see the question paper.
Yes.
Yes, you can see the question paper. Okay, you can't see the question paper.
Yes, we can't see the question paper.
Is it fine now?
No, it's not. Still not working.
Okay, let me just. Okay, hold on. Are we fine now?
Yes.
Sorry for interruption.
Yes.
Sorry for interruption.
No, it's fine.
Ma'am,
That's
can
a
you
good
please slow down?
interruption. Thank you for that
Ma'am,
one.
can you please slow down?
Okay, I'll slow down. That's a good interruption. You must interrupt me for things like that, right? Okay, can we continue? Okay. So I said the first problem that we identify is the credit limit. In the first, you write credit limit, and then you will say is they would, and you say 4,000 is the amount, is this credit limit, and then you say but he's owing 6,800. You calculate the difference between the two is 2,800, so it's 2,800 over his credit limit. Okay, that's the first problem. Then the second problem is, remember I said the credit terms is 30 days. So anyone who's not within that 30 days is not sticking to the credit limits. Sorry, credit terms. So the first one that you can again identify is Dawood, because he has 1,200 over the credit limit. So you say is Dawood 1,200, right? And then you can also say B Camphor. So Camphor is also a problem. He's owing us 2,100 and 2,400. So he's owing us 4,500 for more than 60 days, which means he's not sticking, right? He's a slow payer, this one, right? Okay. Are we okay with that one? That brings us the end of question number. Let me just answer this one. The owner of Ragdoll Traders is not happy with the control of debtors. Provide a calculation to justify his concern, figures to motivate your answer. Okay, they say the owner is not happy with the control of debtors, right? Which means we most mainly looking at the period, the number of debtors that's not sticking to the credit terms, right? So if you look at this one, 1,200 plus 2,100 gives me 3,300. 3,300 plus 2,400, help me to add quickly. 2,400 plus 3,300, 5,700, right? So 5,700 over the total amount owing, 19,800. I'm going to work out what percentage of debtors owe me for more than 60 days, right? Times 100. So 5,700 divided by 19,800 times 100, and it gives me 20, oh, my light, 28.78. So normally we round off to one decimal. So I will say 28.8, right? So it will give me 28.8% of debtors. 28.8% of debtors are not sticking to their credit terms. Okay, let's write that on our question paper. I said for 1.2, you identify the problems. Our problem was credit limit. And the person we identify is S. Daywood. And we said his limit is 4,000. But he owes 6,800. I said calculate the difference between the two. Minus 4,000 gives me 2,800. So 2,800 more, okay, than the limit. What is an internal control measure? Do not allow more credit, okay? If you look at this one, already at 4,000, look here, for 30 days, 3,000, and for 60 days, 1,000. Here, he was already 4,200 over his credit limit. We should not have allowed that 2,600 to him, right? Because he's already not paying us, so we are not managing our debtors well. Can you see that? We shouldn't have allowed him more. We shouldn't have allowed this 2,600 here. Okay. And then I said the second problem that you identify is credit terms. Okay. And the person that we identified there is B. Camphor. And then you can say Camphor is 2,100 plus 2,400. That will give us 4,500, right? So 4,500 outstanding for more than 60 days. Okay. What will we do with him? Charge interest, right? Charge interest on the overdue amounts. Okay. The owner, I read this to you and we already did the calculation. We said 5,700. That is the amounts that's outstanding for more than the 30 days. So 2,400, I added those two. And this 19,800 is the total debt that's outstanding. And we did our calculation and it gave us 28.8%, right? Okay, so 28% of debtors, 28.8% of debtors are not adhering to credit terms. Okay, that brings us to the end of question number 1. Any questions that you have for me on this question before we move on to the next one? Any questions? Anything that you want me to repeat before I do the next one? So we're okay with this one? Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, yes, dear.
can you do 1.1.4?
1 point. Okay. Mr. Pooh Perry, this one is the finance clerk at Bushley Stores. He's been responsible for finance activities by himself since the inception of the store. He made several mistakes and the owner has not taken into any action. As the internal auditor, you are not happy with the control of cash. Explain one problem. Remember, I said the first problem that I see is this 12,800, right? So the problem on 15 April, 12,080 was deposited, right? Yet, bank statement only shows 10,080. So it's 2,000 short. What is your advice here? If you also look at that date, the date is also a problem. So you could also mention the date, right? So your advice would be daily deposits. Okay. Division of duties. More than one person responsible. Don't just say division of duties. Explain more. More than one person responsible for deposits, right? Okay, you can also say encourage debtors to pay via EFT. Okay. For your customers to pay via EFT, which means the money goes directly into your bank account. Any other questions? I hope that answered your question.
1.1.2.
Say again.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Is it possible for you to go back to 1.1.3?
Okay, ask a question on this one. Wait to Melo, do you have a question?
Yes, according we have the like the question regarding the correction of error. That 2,000. Why do we credit it?
It's 2,000.
Yeah, why do we credit that 2,000?
This one.
The correction. Yeah. the correction of error.
Okay. Remember, on the previous BRS, we deposited, according to our records, we had a deposit of 12,080 here. Now you
Yeah.
expect to see 12,080 on the bank statement. But now you don't see 12,080, you see 10,080, which means
Yes.
2,000 cash is missing. Right?
Okay.
It's like I send you to the bank to deposit this 12,000 for me. Before you get there, you are robbed of the 2,000. So you only deposit 10,080. Where's the 2,000? Either you took it or somebody robbed you of that 2,000, right? Most likely you took it, because if somebody robs you, they'll take the whole money, right? All of it. So you took some of that money as the bookkeeper, you stole. So we then have to, according to our prudence, record that 2,000 as a loss until we get that money back from you. Remember, now processes will start. We have to either lay a charge against you or ask you about the money, and then you'll have to repay that money, or we fire you or something like that in the business, right? But the bottom line is, we said, according to our records in the old BRS, that we've deposited 12,080. So this bookkeeper recorded that 12,080 in our records. But yet, when the bank statement came, it only showed 10,080. So that bookkeeper took that 2,000 for himself, and then he did not deposit the full amount of money. So that money is gone, and he says he doesn't know what happened to the money. So it's a loss for us. So in order for our balance, our BRS to balance, we must then put that 2,000. So we are subtracting it, thereby reducing this 12,080, and we're basically making it 10,080 now, to be the same as the bank. Okay.
Okay. I get it.
All right. I'm going to move on now to question number 2. Just get all my things out of my way. Okay. Okay. This is question number 2. Once again, I want to remind you, and let me remind you about the registers also. Please make sure that you sign the register, even if you're alone at home. Ask your teacher for the register. Okay, 40 marks, 32 minutes. If you're given 32 minutes, Zamile, please switch off your mic. 32 minutes, please stay within your 32 minutes. The information relates to Rainbow Suppliers. The business is owned by Tammy Lowe. They updated their records after receiving the bank statement on the 25th of each month. EFTs are renumbered according to the date order before recording in journals. Remember what I said? If they appear in our journals, not on the bank statement, we have to put them in the BRS. If they appear on the bank statement, not in our journals, we have to go and put them in our journals, right? So let's do that. Corrections of our bank statement, we do on the BRS. We have to add, remember the journals is our records. We can add to it as we please, right? Or as the transactions lead us. Required, show the entries that must be recorded in the cash journal by completing the table provided in the answer book. Calculate the correct bank balance in the ledger on the 31st of July. So it's very similar to the previous one. Prepare the bank reconciliation statement on the 31st of July. Explain 2 concerns the owner should mention to the bookkeeper relating to the internal control over cash resources. Quote figures. In each case, explain a strategy to prevent such problems in future. Here we are given in A, the old BRS from the previous month. Remember, I said we're not going to use this balance. We never use this balance here. And then we have outstanding deposits that we expect to see on our bank statement. We have outstanding EFTs that we expect to see on the bank statement. If they now appear on the bank statement, then there's nothing that we have to do. We can just cancel them, right? There they were kind. They gave us the favorable bank balance as per the bank account in the ledger, 25,700, and I'm already going to take that one to my bank. Remember what I said, as I find my information, I write it down. I'm not going to first do this part, then this part. So I already see I need that 25,000, so I've dealt with it, right? I've taken it where it belongs. Okay. On comparing the July 2023 bank statement received from RSA Bank with the bank reconciliation statement of June, the following were noted. The outstanding deposit of 15,000, this one, did not
Excuse
appear
me.
on the July bank statement.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry. No, the screen keeps on increasing and decreasing.
Okay. I wonder why. So let's switch off my mic for a minute. Okay. I'm not too sure why the screen goes up and down because I'm not touching anything except my papers here in front of me. So let's carry on again. Um, if the subject advisors can just check on the people who wants to come in. Remember, I can't see the screen. I can only see the question paper in front of me. I don't see people wanting to come in or anything happening. Okay, let's continue. Okay. As I was saying, outstanding deposits should appear. Outstanding EFTs should appear. The favorable bank balance, I took it already, right? On comparing the July 2023 bank statement received from RSA Bank with the bank reconciliation, the following were noted. The outstanding deposit of 15,000 did not appear on the July bank statement. An investigation revealed that this money was never deposited. Hello? Are we still okay? Sharing the screen. Oh, you're still there? Okay. The outstanding deposit of 15,000 did not appear on the July bank statement. An investigation revealed that this money was never deposited. The cashier cannot account for the cash. Remember earlier when we lost that 2,000, what did we do with it? We took it to our CP. So we're going to do the same with this because the money was recorded as a money that was deposited, but it never appeared in the bank. So we're going to take that 15,000 to our CPJ. The same concept, our prudence says there's a possibility of a loss. We're going to record it as a loss, right? Okay, so that's our first one. So now I can cancel that on my BRS, right? Because I've already dealt with that information. EFT number 613 was correctly reflected as EFT number 613 was correctly reflected as 14,300. There is EFT number 613, but you see there's a mistake with the figure. And what did I say? The minute you have two figures, Then we have 14,300 minus 13,400. Difference between the two.
In and out.
14,300 minus 13,400. It gives me 900. Then my question is, where is the mistake? Right? They say EFT was correctly reflected as 14 on the bank statement. So the bank statement is correct. I didn't have to go to my CPJ to go and rectify that, right? So I'm going to take that 900 to my CPJ because my CPJ is less than what they say, right? And that is the correction or EFT number 613. Okay. The other outside note dealt with this one also, right? The other outstanding amounts from the previous month appeared on the July's bank statement. So 12,600 appears, no entry. 6,950 appears, no entry, right? So we are done with this old BRS. We can move on now to other accounts, right? Information B, the provisional totals in the cash journals before receiving the July bank statement reflected cash receipts journal 510, cash payment journal 484,450. Those amounts will then appear on your answer book. Remember what I said earlier, you must remember to add those amounts, right? Then you will get what we call a method mark here for adding everything with these provisional totals. But if you leave out those provisional totals, then you don't get your amounts here at the end, if that's what your marking guide says, right? C, the following items appeared on the July bank statement. The following items on the July bank statement must still be recorded. So these are on the bank statement. So where are we going to put it? In our journals. Transaction fees, 1,425. Transaction fees, so those are like your bank charges. Then we put that in our CPJ. So bank charges. And then the next one, interest on favorable balance. That's a good balance there. That goes to your CRJ, 145. Interest. Okay. A direct deposit of 6,250 from a tenant. That goes to your CRJ. Let's take it there. 6250. And that is your rent income. Okay. A debit order of 1,850 for the monthly insurance appeared twice on the bank statement. The bank will rectify the problem. You remember from our previous bank reconciliation, we have to record one, which is for this month, 1,850, and that is your insurance. And the second one is an error, so it goes here, and then it's correction of error. Okay, let's just read that again. A debit order of 1,850 for the monthly insurance appeared twice on the bank statement, right? The one is correct because it's supposed to be there, but the second one is wrong. And then they say to us, the bank will rectify the problem next month. So the problem is not in our records, the problem is on the bank. And where do you rectify the bank's problems? On the BRS, okay, which we did. Nah? A debit card payment of 2,700 for a battery for the business vehicle. Tammy, the owner, neglected to submit the transaction slip to the bookkeeper. So this is for the business vehicle, right? 2,700, and it's a payment. So also to my CPJ. And that is your battery, right? Okay. D, the following entries were in the cash journals. Now they were in our cash journals. If they were in our cash journals, what do you do with them? You take them to the BRS. Okay. a deposit of 10,000 Rand on the 28th of July. What must I do with that deposit? I'm going to take it to my BRS, credit outstanding deposit. Okay? You with me so far? All right. Then we have EFT number 652 for 5650. Also, these are in your cash journal, so it must go to the BRS. So let's take it there. Outstanding EFTs. 5650. And this is EFT 652. And then there's a second one. EFT 655 for 1,445. So EFT, and it is 655, and it's for 1,445. Okay. And then the last one, bank statement balance on the 31st of July, unknown. We're going to calculate it, and then we have to bring it over, right? Let's start with our journals above so that we can do our bank account, and then we can finalize our BRS here. Okay, let's do it. Help me with this one. So 5, 10, 600. Don't forget your provisional totals plus 145 rands plus 6,250, and it gives me 516,995, right? 516,995. Let's add up the CPJ. Don't forget your provisional totals. 450, 484,450 plus 15,000 plus 900 plus 1425 plus 1850 plus 2700, and it gives me 506,325. Okay, now I already have my bank account balance. Remember, I got this from my previous BRS. They were kind, they gave it to us. And I showed you in the first activity, if it's not given to you, how to calculate it. So now I'm going to bring my receipts down, and I'm going to bring my payments down. So payments on this side, remember your bank is an asset unless they tell you your bank is in overdraft, right? So here they said to us it's a favorable balance, but your receipts goes to your debit side and your payments goes to your credit side. Now we can balance this account. I can see my debit side will be more than my credit side, right? So I start on my debit side, 25,700 plus 516,995, and it gives us 542,695. 542,695 minus 506,325, and that gives me a balance of 36,370. And remember, your debit side is more than your credit side, so you bring it down and you say your balance is a debit balance of 36,370. And that same balance will then come down to the debit side of your BRS, 36,370. Now, the only thing that's missing on my BRS is to calculate a debit balance or a credit balance, right? I can see there's a 5 and a 1 and a 36, so this side will be more than this side, right? So let's add up my debit side, 5,650 plus 1,445 plus 36,370, and it gives us 43,465. And I know the two sides must be equal, so I make them equal, 465. Are they equal? No. So now I must find the missing amount, which will then be my balance, right? So for your bank statement, so 43,465 minus 1,850 and minus 10,000 gives me 31,615. Okay, that is your BRS for the second question that we have. Any questions now on this one before we move to the second part of this question? Any questions on this one?
No, ma'am.
I can
Covered.
understand how to do a T account, ma'am.
You say?
I can't understand
Say
how
again.
to do that T account. Can you please repeat that T account?
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, I got the 25,700 from the previous bank reconciliation. There. That 25,700. It says to me it's a favorable bank balance. Favorable balance as per the bank account, which means that's your opening bank balance for this month, right? Or it was the closing last month. So you're starting with that balance with your new supplementary entries, right? So you see where I got that one from. Then I'm taking my CPJ amount 516,995 because this is assets. It increase on the debit side and a decrease on the credit side. And these are your receipts. These are your receipts and these are your payments. So payments will reduce bank and receipts will increase bank, right? So I'm putting the 506,325 and then I must add up my debit side, add up my credit side. I added this side because I can see it's going to be more and it gave me 542,695. I make the two sides equal 542,695 and then I take this one 542,695 minus that one, right? And then it gave me 36,370. So if you add up these two, it must give you 542,695. And then I said I bring down that balance to my debit side because it comes down, right? And because it's on the debit side, I'm then going to bring it directly down to my debit side of my BRS. Remember, if it was on that side, it would come down to the credit side. But now it's on the debit side, so I bring it directly down to my debit side. That's almost like a format of your BRS. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. That's good. That's all we want for you to hear loud and clear and go and implement on Monday. Okay. All right. Then last part of the question.
May Andrew?
Yes.
We have
Yes,
two
me,
hands.
Rebecca.
I don't know, those two hands, are they the old hands or what? Ntate Rasibakwa, me on Tate Lerato Mohapi. We've got two hands, I don't know. Can you pose the questions if you have? In that order, Ntate Rasibakwa and me Lerato. Lerato, the hand is removed. Ntate Rasibakwa, you are muted if you are saying something.
Or he must just remove the hand if his hand is up.
Yes, that is what is expected.
I have a question. So, according to the information and the cash payment journal, the loss of 15,000. I want to understand, why did you say it's a loss?
Remember, we recorded that 15,000 in our CPJ, ne?
Okay.
So it's in the CPJ, and then we said the money went to the bank, but the money never ended up in our bank account. So where do you cancel your CPJ entries? Where do you cancel CRJ? You cancel in the CPJ, right?
Okay.
You just get a page. Remember what I said? I said to you, bank is plus on the debit side and minus on the credit side, right? So now we said plus 15,000. Ne? But that money never arrived at the bank. So we never had a plus 15,000. So we have to cancel that 15,000 now because nothing was received. So where are you going to cancel it? Remember, this is your CRJ. This is your CPJ. So then just in simple terms, you take it then to the CPJ, which means a plus 15 and a minus 15 gives you a 0. Are we
Thank you,
sorted?
ma'am.
You're welcome, dear. Okay, last part of this question quickly. And remember, please don't leave these questions open. Write something because you lose a lot of marks in these type of questions when you guys just leave it open. Write something. I always say, if I must put 2 ticks here, what do you call that? Corruption, right? Because there's nothing written there, but I put 2 ticks. Then somebody will say, no, 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 no. How can you put 2 ticks here, but there's nothing? But if you write something and I understand your something that you're writing, I can at least maybe give you 1 of the 2 marks, right? So don't just leave these things open, write something. Explain 2 concerns the owner should mention to the bookkeeper relating to the internal control over cash resources. Our first problem that we have is that 15,000 missing cash, right? Missing cash. Okay. So what can we do here? Division of duties and daily deposits, no? Okay. And then there was another amount on the, let me just find it, on the 10th of June. Just look here. On the 10th of June, we deposited 12,600. Now, you know that if I make a deposit, it will take a day or 2 to appear in my record, in my bank statement or my bank account, right? But yet this money only appeared in July, whereas it was paid already in June. So the money is taking long. And remember, I spoke about rolling of cash, possible rolling of cash here. So here we can also say daily deposits, encourage people to pay via EFT so that we have less cash that we can pay. So another problem is that 12,600 that was deposited on 10 June, but only appeared in July. Because if they said to us somewhere, here they said, they update their records on the 25th of the month. So basically, they receive that bank statement on the 25th. So when they received the bank statement on the 25th, that money was still not in there. That's almost 15 days that it took to get in there, right? So that is long. So we have a problem here. So we can also say daily deposits, but try and give one reason, division and daily deposits here. Encourage EFTs. Okay. All right. I think that brings us to the end of question 3.1. We are now going to move to your creditors reconciliation, right?
Andrews, as I can request, please, colleagues, remember to fill in the attendance register for us.
Attendance registers and not duplicate the people's names.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Creditors reconciliation. Who are the creditors? They are the people who owe, to whom we owe money. We buy on credit from them. We keep a record in our books. Remember, we are a business. We keep a record of all our transactions, our credit transactions, our cash payments, our cash receipts. Now we've in the bank recon, we've dealt with our cash. Now we're going to deal with our credit transactions, right? So the creditors reconciliation, once again, is to reconcile our records with the records from outside. So the creditors will send us also a statement at the end of the month. Then we can see whether what they are saying is correct. They will send us a statement and then we'll see, okay, we owe this much or we don't owe this much, right? So we have our creditors control account. Remember our accounting cycle. On a daily basis, we record in our journals. And the end of the month, we post to our ledgers. We have our general ledger and we have our subsidiary ledgers, right? Your creditors list is a list of balances from your subsidiary ledger, right? Your creditors control account is your balances from your general ledger, right? So the questions we have to ask here, is it us or in this particular one, is the problem in the control account or is the problem with the list? Okay, so we have to deal with that now. Indicate the changes, 3 point, the creditors reconciliation, the creditors control account, highlight, creditors control account and creditors list of tighter stores were prepared by an inexperienced bookkeeper. Indicate the changes that must be made in the creditors control account and the creditors list to take into account the errors and omissions noted. Indicate an increase with a plus and a decrease with a minus next to the amount. The owner of Titus stores is not satisfied with the service and quality of goods ordered from Creditor Spring Limited. Explain 2 factors that he must consider before changing to another supplier. Okay, then our starting point will be the opening balances of 70,650 and the creditors list total will be 32,600. You see, it's 2 different balances. Now, whatever information is in your creditors control account, that same information must be in the creditors list. So these 2 must have the same balances. They cannot have different balances. And that's what brings us to the reconciliation process, because this information comes out of your records. So it's supposed to be the same. It can't be different. It means some information you left out or you duplicated it or you recorded it wrongly. Okay. So let's see on our answer book, we have those 2 same balances. There we have the 70,650 and then we have 32,600. At the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that these 2 balances are the same. Then we say we have successfully reconciled. What's important with the creditors reconciliation is to know when to add and to know when to subtract. Okay, the first one we do, the total of the creditors list was undercast by 900. So 900 too little. So what do you want me to do with that 900? I'm going to add. And this only affects the creditors list. So let's put that in there. So I'm going to say plus 900 for my creditors list. Okay. You see the 900 is given to us, but your problem comes here. Then you put a minus when you're supposed to put a plus. Undercast, under means below the correct amount that it's supposed to be. A credit purchase from Mellow stores, suppliers for 3,720 was not recorded in the books of the business. If it was totally left out, then it will affect your creditors control and the creditors list, right? What is a credit purchase? We bought more, which means a credit purchase means plus. And now we must plus the control account and the list because it was totally left out or not recorded, right? Let's do that. No problem with the amount. The problem comes with our plussing and minusing. So I'm going to say plus 3,720 and plus 3,720. Why? It was totally left out in the control account and the list, right? If it's not in our records, there's no way we can put it in a control account or a list. So we must put it in both places, right? All right. Next one. Trading stock returned. What is that one return again? Minus, right? Now I'm already thinking trading stock returned. The stock went back, so lesser, right? Are you going to pay for stock that you don't have? No. So it's going to decrease. Trading stock returned to Spring Limited, 7,200 was entered correctly in the creditors allowances journal. Allowances journal is minus, né? But was posted as 2,700 to the creditors ledger account. What if you have 2 amounts? What is the first thing that you have to do? Calculate the difference. So 7,200 minus 2,700. Calculate with me. 7,200 minus 2,700 and it gives me 4,500. Now let's read again, because we must now decide add or subtract, right? It says trading stock return of 7,200. So the stock that was returned was 7,200. This was entered correctly in the creditors allowances journal, which means the control account is correct. No problem there, right? Remember, when you do your creditors control account, what do you take? You take the journals, right? You book all the information from the journals. In the subsidiary ledgers, you take the individual transactions to the different accounts, right? So if the journal is incorrect, then it will affect your control account as well, right? So, but was posted as 2,700 to the creditors ledger. If the creditors ledger is incorrect, it means your list is incorrect. So we have to go and our amount should have been 7,200. So we subtracted 4,500 too little. So we must add, or shall I say, we must subtract another 4,500 because what we did, we only subtracted 2,700, but we should have subtracted 7,200. Now we must take this 2,700 to that 7,200 there, right? So we say 2,700 plus the 4,500, then we know it is going to be 7,200, right? So I'm basically adding another 4,500 to my returns to get my amount up to 7,200. Okay, let's move on. The creditors control total in the cash payment journal is 16,400. See, let's highlight that one. So creditors control in the cash payment, which means minus, né? Minus that 16,400. That's what it means to us. The bookkeeper credited this to the creditors control account by mistake. What's happening in the creditors control account? We are adding. So this one would be your payment. So CPJ is minus because this is where we record our payments to our creditors. But creditors control is where they say it was credited. Creditors is a liability. What happens to credit? We means plus, right? Which means we made a mistake here. This is where we see that double up principle. Let's see what happened. If this is your creditors, their payments must be minus 16,400 on this side. But instead of putting a minus 16,400, we put a plus 16,400, right? So this 16,400 is wrong. It was supposed to be plus 16,400. Now you have to rectify the error. Let's rectify. What is it? This one is wrong. Né? This one, the 16,000. Let's see, the creditors control total in the cash payment journal is 16,000. So this one is the wrong one. Okay, so this one, let's cancel. This one is your wrong one. It's supposed to be this one. But now what happened? We plus 16,400. So what must we do? We first going to rectify that error. Remember, what did we do? We added, we said plus 16,400. So we first recorded like this, then it is 0. Okay, so this is your error, wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay, and then we must rectify the way it's supposed to be. Let's say that again. 16,400 was credited. That's an incorrect entry. Now we must fix it. So we say first minus 16,400 to fix that incorrect entry. Then we must say a further minus 16,400 to then do the actual entry that was supposed to be. So add with me 16,400 plus 16,400. It gives me minus 32,800. Okay. So the question is here. Where did the mistake occur? Was it on the control account? Was it the list? Was it both of them, right? So this one, it happened in the journals, so it's only my control account. So I'm going to say minus 32,800. Okay. And the last one, an invoice
Before you go to the last one, I can see Rasibakwa's hand is still on.
Okay, Rebecca, let him just hold on so I can finish, and then he can ask a question at the end.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, madam. An invoice for 8,850. Invoice, what does invoice mean? Invoice means plus. For 8,850, for stock purchase from Millie Market on account has been correctly recorded in the creditor's journal. So if the journal is correct, then the control account is correct. So no problem with the control account, but has not been posted to the account in the creditor's ledger. I said invoice means plus, then we're going to add 8,850. Now, $1,000,000 question. If I add up my debit side and I add up my credit side, then, my control account and my list, then these totals must be the same without making any funny moves, right? Let's see if we did everything correctly. 70,650 plus 3,720 minus 32,800. It gives us 41,570. Okay, let's see the other side. 32,600 plus 900 plus 3,720 minus 4,500 plus 8,850, and it gives us 41,570. We've successfully reconciled. I just want to say, if you guys don't get the same figure here, let's say we made a mistake with this 900. We put minus 900. Nah? Let's add up minus 900. 32,600 minus 900 plus 3,720 minus 45 plus 8,850. Then I get 39,770, right? Then what you do, you calculate this answer 39,770 minus this answer here. So you say minus 41,570. It gives you 1,800. Then you take your 1,800 divided by 2 or times it by 2. 900. It will give you one of these figures here, right? If you made a mistake with, let's say, the 4,500, you will either get a 9,000 or 4,500, whichever mistake you make, right? So if you make a mistake, it does not want to balance on Monday. The two doesn't want to reconcile. Calculate the difference between the two. Take that difference and divide it by 2. And you will get one of these figures here. Okay. Last one before I allow for questions. The owner of Titus stores is not satisfied with the service and quality of goods ordered from Creditor Spring Limited. Explain 2 factors that he must consider before changing to another supplier. He must maybe look at the quality of the products the quality of products that they're selling. Maybe he must arrange a meeting with him to discuss his requirements, what he wants from them. If I can just give you a good example of something relevant, I want to buy from an online store. I want to buy sneakers or techies from this online store. But before I buy from a store, because there's a lot of scams out there, I read the reviews on those shoes to see if it's good quality shoes. So I also would say, go and look up the reviews on the store to see if they have a good track record with other businesses. Right? There's public reviews out there. that can help you to understand if this business is going to satisfy in your needs. But basically, a meeting with management to discuss your requirements, also look at the quality of products and read up their public reviews on this company to see if they are giving good quality products. Okay. Questions on the creditors reconciliation? This is not a topic that you guys really like too much, but unfortunately, we have to answer this one. Questions?
Ma'am, can I ask?
Yes? Yes,
Can you
please.
repeat the trick when we don't get to balance our adjustment at the end of? Can you repeat the trick again?
Yeah, remember I made this one a minus, ne?
Yeah.
I said to you, I'm going to make it a minus 32,600. Minus is wrong, ne? And then I add up everything plus 3,000 minus 4,500 plus 8,850. Now I get 39,770. Ne? Then I say minus my total year, minus 41570. Then it gives me 1,800. Now 1,800 can either be an amount here, but you can see there's no 1,800. Then I divide it by 2 and I get 900. There is a 900, which means there's something wrong with that 900. Then you go and say, you plus it now. Oh, sorry, you minus it. Now go and plus it and then try and balance it again. Then it will balance for you.
Okay.
That's a cheat,
Thank you very
cheat
much.
trick for you. A
Obelo.
cheat method for you. Okay. Just don't make too many mistakes now. Okay. All right, we're going to step off reconciliations now. Remember your reconciliations. You have your bank, you
Ma'am,
have your
sorry.
creditors, you have your debtors. Your
Sorry.
age analysis can be asked as part of that question. Yes?
Can you please repeat Roman letter 3?
On which one? On the creditors. Trading
Yes, ma'am.
stock returned. What did I say? What is returned? A minus, ne? Discounts, returns, minus, ne? To spring, and the amount of the return was 7,200 because they said to it was entered correctly. So it's right. 72 is correct. In the creditors allowances journal, that's most where we record our returns, right? But it was posted as incorrect amount to the creditors ledger. Then I said to you, the only mistake is in the creditors ledger, right? Because it's correct in the creditors allowances journal. No problem. So no problem with the control account, but the list will be incorrect. Then I said, if you have two figures, you calculate the difference between the two. So 7,200 minus 2,700, and it gave us 4,500. And this is a return, which means that 2,700, we only subtracted 2,7 instead of 7,2. So we have to basically add to it. So we're subtracting another 4,000 minus 4,500 in order to get a minus 2,000, a minus 7,200. Okay, are you sorted? All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, that's good. Let's move on to the question. Yes.
Roman figure 4.
Roman figure 4.
Yes, I have a question there. I don't understand why you minus the 16,400 price.
Okay, let's read quickly. It says the creditors control total in the cash payment journal. Now look, put your cash payment journal in your head. What are we recording in the cash payment journal? These creditors are the people that we owe money to, right? So we have to pay them, right? You agree? Creditors we
Yes.
pay, debtors pay us. So they say the creditors control total in the cash payment journal is 6,400. But they say the bookkeeper credited this to the creditors control account by mistake. Now the creditors control account, remember, is a liability. This is your creditors. So creditors is liabilities because we owe, right? So liabilities decrease on the side, on the debit side, and they increase on the credit side. So when we buy, it goes to the side, which is the credit side. When we pay, it goes to the side. This 16,400 was supposed to go to the side. But instead of putting it on this side, they put it on this side. That's why I said we have a plus 16,400, which is your error. It's wrong. It must not be there. Now you have to rectify this error and record the correct amount. So the first thing you do is minus 16,400. A minus 16,400 and a plus 16,400 gives you a 0. Now you have fixed your error. There's no more mistake now. Now you must go back and record the actual transaction. Then you add those two and then it will give you 32,800, right? So is that double up principle? You first rectify the error and then you record the actual transaction. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. Let's go to the question number 3 or the question number 4, but it's the next one on budgeting that was sent to you. Okay. Now we're going to cash budgets. Put cash budgets in your head now for me. Cash budgets in your head. Okay. We say cash budgeting is also a managerial tool for management to make certain decisions. You cannot wake up one day and realize you do not have enough money to pay your workers. If you work for this particular company, and I'm the owner of this company, I'm Jane Pillay, and I say to you, sorry guys, today I can't pay you, but because I didn't realize I'm not going to have enough money. Are you going to be happy with that? No. So management must do the cash budget, and we normally do it in advance for 3 months or so, even 6 months. They can do it even up to a year, depending on the company, so that they can make certain decisions. If they don't have enough money and they see they're going into overdraft, then they have to negotiate the overdraft with the bank, or they must take out a loan, or they must reduce some of their expenses if they see things are not working out. Or they would like to buy some new assets, new equipment, computers in the business. Then they must budget for that and make sure that they have money and they can afford to buy those things in the business. So that's basically what we are doing in our cash budget, right? And cash budget, as the name says, deals with receipts and payments. We also have what we call the projected income statement, and there we deal with income and expenditure. A cash budget in the income statement, in the projected income statement, they normally just want the expense for a particular month. But in the cash budget, if money left your bank account in that particular month, it must be reflected in that amount. For example, you are paying, let's say, interest received on or interest paid on a loan is received only after 3 months. Cash budget in your months is January, February, March. Cash budget will only show that amount, the full amount, in March. But the projected income statement will show, let's say, 100 Rand for January, 100 Rand for February, 100 Rand for March. So the projected cash budget want to see the effect on your cash balance at the end of the month. So you have your total receipts and your total payments, and the difference between total receipts and total payments gives you your surplus or deficit at the end of the month, and that surplus or deficit is then added to your opening balance to get a new closing balance. And always remember, today's closing becomes tomorrow's opening. What do I mean with that? If my closing balance for the end of January is 5,000, then my opening balance for February will be 5,000. They always trick you guys with that one. Then they ask you, what is the opening balance for February? And the January closing is given to you. Then you start calculating, but you're not supposed to calculate. You just take the January closing and you say, this is my balance for February. Because remember, today's opening or today's closing is tomorrow's opening. Okay, let's start with the question. You are provided with information relating to Bell Traders for the budgeted period October and November. Okay, the business is owned by Jane Pillay. Complete the debtors collection schedule for November 2023. Refer to information H and I. Calculate 1 to 3 as provided in the budget. Use budgeted figures in your calculation. Cash balances. Comment on the cash balances and provide figures. Explain how Jane can improve the cash balances in future. Provide 2 points. Calculate the following: percentage increase in rent on 1 November, amount of interest received in November. Refer to information H. Identify 2 payments that you can consider to be poorly managed in October 2023. In each case, give a suggestion to improve the internal control of the items identified. J. Provide 2 reasons why Jane would be concerned about the control over debtors. Okay, so information A, I must do my debtors collection schedule for October and November, or it's given to you for October and November. According to your answer sheet, or the question says we only have to do for November because November is the only missing figures here, right? In B, they tell us the debtors pay according to the following trend. 35% in the month of sale, and then they receive a 2% discount. So 35, and then 40% is paid in the month following the month of sale. And then 22% is paid 2 months after the sales month. And 3% is bad debts, right? Now, I like to read it like that for myself the whole time. I would say August for it's paid in the month. So August for August would be 35%. August for September would be 50%. August for October would be 22%. And then November, there would be nothing except that 3% of bad debts, right? Which is no money coming in. Then September for September would be 35%. September for October would be 40%. September for November would be 22%. Right, and I write my percentage there. It helps me like that. October for October would be 35%. Don't forget the 2% discount. Then October for November would be 40%. Okay, I don't have to go further with that one. November for October, nothing. Don't write anything there because there's already a total. So you don't have to write anything there. November for November would be 35% minus the 2%, right? Now we can do our calculations once we have everything like that. So let's work with me here. September, we have 68,000 times your 22%. So it gives me 14,000. Just going to make a line here. 14,960. Then I have October, 70,000 times my 40%, and it gives me 28,000. Okay, and then I have for November, 35%. Don't forget your 2% discount. So I have 64,000. First, I calculate my 35%, which gives me 22,400. And then I'm going to calculate my 2%. So my final answer is 28,952. Let's do that again. I said you take your 64,000 times your 35%, it gives me 22,400. If you have 22,400, then you forgot your discount. Go back and calculate your discount. Then I say times 98%. Why? Because it's 100 minus the 2%. If you want to go the long route, you can also do that where you say times 2% to get the 2%. Then you say 22,400 minus 448, and it still gives you 21,952. Then you take these three amounts and you add them to get the total that must go to your cash budget. So 21,952 plus 28,000 plus 14,960, and it gives me 64,912. Okay, easy peasy. Don't write extra information. That's why I say it helps me to read it like that. Then I know nothing must go there. The minute you write something extra there, then you don't get this method mark here. Okay, so extra entries lose a mark on that calculation. Okay, 4.2. Refer to information 1 to 3 as provided in the cash in the budget. Use budgeted figures in your calculation. Let's go and find it. What are we supposed to calculate? Here's my number 1. I need payments to creditors for stock. And here's number 2. I need salaries of the sales assistant. And here's number 3. I need the cash surplus or deficit. Okay. Number 3 is down here. Here's 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now I need to look at my information. I read A and B. So now I can read C to see what information I need. Payments to creditors for stock. What are we looking for? We're looking for the markup. We're looking for words that says that this business replaces the stock or they maintain a fixed base stock level. They replace on a monthly basis or the next month or normally on a monthly basis. We're looking for the markup because we need to calculate the cost of sales. And in C, D, and E, I see all that information that I'm looking for. So let's read. It says all goods are sold at the markup of 25%. So when I calculate my cost of sales, then I'll have my sales. Okay, so sales times 100 divided by 125, and that will give you your cost of sales. Stock sold is replaced in the month of the sale. Those words tell me I need to look for my cost of sales. Okay. All stock is purchased on credit. So I'm going to take 100% of this cost price once I get it, right? Creditors are paid in the month following the month of purchase, which means I'm working with October, November. I'm looking for the payments to creditors for November. Where do I have to go? I have to go to October because they say to me, all stock is purchased on credit, which means I'm taking the 100% of this cost of sales once I calculate it. Creditors are paid in the month following the month of purchase. Remember, we replace all stock in the month of sales. So October, we replace for October. November, we replace for November. So which ones are we paying in November? We're paying for the October purchases in November, right? Okay. And don't forget about our 5% early discount. So what do I need from October? I need the total sales from November or from October. Please help me look for my total sales here. Okay, let's see. Okay, here in F, it talks about sales assistant. I don't need that. G talks about fixed deposit, and H gives me the cash budget, right? So there's nothing about sales at the moment that I see. The only thing I see is cash sales here. So I have cash sales, and they said to me I must use the budgeted figures, right? Okay, what else do I need? I need credit sales. I either need cash sales or I I need cash sales and credit sales, or I need total sales. I did not see anything about total sales. So here I have cash sales, and then I can go back and I can find my credit sales, right? Because in information A, I was given my credit sales. Look there. There it says credit sales. And then I'm looking for credit sales of October, right? So I'm going to take the 70,000 plus that 17. So I'm taking 70,000, which is the October credit sales, 70,000. And I'm taking the cash sales of October, 17,500. And the two added gives me 70,000 plus 17,500. It gives me 87,500. Sometimes they give you a percentage and they say cash sales is 25% or 50% or whatever the case might be. If I was given that, then I can say my 17,500 divide by, let's say, 50% times 100. And then I get my total sales. But I wasn't given those percentages in this particular question. So that's the best I can do. Remember, a cash budget, it looks like there's nothing there for you, but there is, I promise you, enough information in that question. You must just ask yourself, what do I have and how can I use this information to get to my answer, right? So now all I have to do, I have to calculate this is my sales. So times 100 divided by 125. I remember I want the cost price now, right? So 87,500 times 100 divided by 125. It gives me 70,000. And I said to you, the full 100% because all our credit purchases is on credit. But there's one thing we must not forget is that 5% of early settlement, right? So I'm going to take my 70,000 and I'm going to times it by 95. Why 95? I've subtracted the 5% already, right? So 70,000 times your 95 and your final answer is then 66,500. Let's just recap again. The first thing I'm looking for payments to creditors, I'm looking for my cost of sales. In order to get cost of sales, I need sales. Then I take my sales and I use my markup to calculate my cost of sales. You're always given the markup. And then in this case, they will say to you either credit purchases is 40% or 60% or 80%. This case, they say to us all. What percentage is all? 100%. So that's why I took the full 70,000. And then the only thing that I still have to do is to subtract the 90 or calculate 95% of. You can also calculate a 5% first and then subtract your 5%. But don't waste time. Just go to 95 or 98%, whatever the information is giving you, so that you can just save a little bit of time. Okay. That is then your payments to creditors. I know you don't like this one, so practice it a little bit, and hopefully on Monday when you see it, because definitely there's cash budgets there, then you can get those marks. I'm not too sure if there's payments to creditors, but it's quite a favorite one to be asked. Then there's salaries of sales assistants. Salaries of sales assistants. If the business employs 4, so there's 4 of them, 4 sales assistants on the same salary scale, they will receive an inflationary increase of 7.5%, effective from the 1st of November. An additional, so one more, will be employed on 1 November on the same salary scales as the others, but will not receive the increase. Okay, so now we have to go under your budget and find your salaries. Salaries of the sales assistants, there it is. So 20,800, 20,000. 20,800 is then the salary of 4 people. So I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take that 20,800 divided by 4. So now I know this one person gets 5,200, right? Because remember, this person is going to start on the salary scale the way it is now. So the one person is going to get 5,200. Then the other three will take that 5,200 and they will say times 107. 5,200 times 107.5 divide by 100, which means the other three, the other four, sorry, their salaries will be 5,590. So that 5,590 times 4 will then give me 22,360 plus this 5,200. So my total will then be 27,560. Let's write it down. Okay, so I said I start off with my 20,800 and I say divide by 4. And that gave me 5,200, which is the monthly salary for one person, right? And then I said that 5,200 times 107.5 and over 100, and it gave me 5,590 times 4, and it gave us 22,360. So 5,200 plus that 5,200, and it gave us 27,560. Okay. Then number 3, they say calculate whether we have a surplus. After finalizing the budget, the following was identified. We must calculate the surplus or the deficit. If you were at the beginning of the month at 52,500, but now you are on 14,800, which means something decreased your amount here, which means you have a amount in brackets here. I can already see that. So if you have like this, then you subtract. So take your 52,500 minus 14,890 and it gives me 37,610 in brackets. Now you take 52,500 minus 37,610 and I get that's 14,890 and I know my answer is correct. So on your question paper, you can then write 52,500 minus 14,890, or as you like to do it, turn it around so your calculators can show you in brackets. And then you put, and just remember, it must be in brackets, this one. Because if you put the positive, then your calculation will not work out. Putting it in brackets, you're saying that you have a deficit, which is then correct here for your calculation. Okay. Okay. Comment on the cash balances. Let's look at our cash balances. The budgeted balance was 14,890, but the actual was 45,400. So you must state that the budgeted was 14,890, but the actual was 45,400. You calculate the difference, 45,400 minus 14,890, and you say there's a difference of 30,510. Then they want to know, a further part of that question says, explain how Jane can improve the cash balances in future. Provide 2 points. Okay. For that, you must specifically look at your expenses to see what she's paying a lot. If you look at your creditors, maybe she can negotiate to have 60 days instead of the 30 days repayments, right? Because then it will give a little bit more time to repay that 60. If she paid that the next month already, we will be out of our credit balance here, right? More things that she can look at. Let's see. Okay, municipal, you can't really cut there. Maybe look at salaries, maybe have another different plan on salaries. Okay, she can also, if you look at your receipts here, she can also encourage our debtors to pay a little bit faster. If you look at, we're supposed to get 67,490. We only got 43,870. So encourage your debtors to pay more. maybe she can even increase the cash sales here, right? To have more cash sales and not so much of credit sales. Okay. And then the last part of the question, the 4.4, calculate the following, the percentage increase in rent on 1 November and the amount of interest on the fixed deposit. Okay, remember when you have to calculate the increase in the rent or the increase in salaries, you look at the rent. Okay, there it is. The budget was 12,544. The previous month was 11,200. You calculate the difference between the two and you put that difference over what it was before. So I'm taking my 12,544 minus 11,200. It gives me 1,344. 11,344 divided by 11,200 times 100 gives me 12%, right? That is a standard calculation and they always ask you that question. So 12,444 minus 11,200 gives us 1,344. 1,344 over what it was before times your 100 gives us 12%. Okay. The amount of interest on the fixed deposit expected to be received in November 2023. Now, to get interest, you always say to yourself the amount of the fixed deposit times, let's find it quickly. G, a fixed deposit matures on 30 November 2022. This will be received together with interest at 8% for the last quarter of the term. What is a quarter? A quarter is a 1 over 4, right? That's a quarter, okay? And then 8% is supposed be 8% divided in this 4 would then give me 2. Do you agree? So 2, 2, 2, 2, because that's all the information that I have to work with, right? So a fixed deposit matures on 30 November. This will be received together with interest at 8% per annum for the last quarter. The other quarters I've already received my interest. So there's only one quarter outstanding. So if I take this 8 and I divide it by 4, it gives me a 2%, right? So hold on to that 2%. I want to say to you that I always say your fixed deposit or your loan over the percentage, which in this case is 8%, times your months, which is normally 12 months, gives you your, if you have interest here at the end, then you just reverse everything, right? So let's see what we have. They say fixed deposit including interest is 16,830, right? And our question says, calculate the amount of interest on the fixed deposit expected to be received in November. So this total gives us 16,830. I'm going to take this one out. Okay, I want to say this one is only for a quarter, right? Which means that quarter is only about 2%. Do you agree? So I'm going to take my 16,830 times your 100 over, remember that's 2%. So this is 102% because it is the total of the deposit, the total of the fixed deposit plus a quarter that's coming back to me, right? That's why I'm going to take my months out there. Then I say 16,830 times 100 divided by 102. It gives me 16,400, which is the amount of the deposit, right? So then I say minus 16,830 and it will give me 330. 330 is then the amount of the interest that I want, right? Okay, let's say that again. If you want your calculation, then you would say your fixed deposit over 1 times your percentage times 1 over 12, right? For 1 month of interest. But this is my full, the deposit plus interest. So I have the deposit at 100% and the interest at 2%. Where did I get 2%? I said 8 divide by that 4 because they said to me 1/4 of the interest is still outstanding. So in this 16,830, I have 102, which is the 100% of the fixed deposit that's coming back to me and a 2% of interest that's still owing to me, right? So I'm calculating my total of my fixed deposit to be 16,500. Then I say what I expected to receive is 16,830 minus 16,500 and it gives me 330, which is your answer for your interest. Okay. 4.5, identify 2 payments that you consider to be poorly managed in October. In each case, give a suggestion to improve the internal control of the items identified. 2 payments, so let's go to our payments. Payments to creditors, nothing wrong there. Salaries, nothing wrong. Sales assistant, nothing. Municipal service, nothing. Drawings, there's a bit of a big difference there, 3,000 and 5,500. Were we perhaps unrealistic? So you give the name, drawings. You say we budgeted 3,000, but the actual is 5,500. It is 2,500 more, or you work out the percentage to say it's this percentage more, and you comment on it, right? You say we must increase the drawings. If the owner then wants to take 5,500, then it must be increased. If you look at stationery, very small change there, not worth mentioning. If you look at maintenance of office equipment, 3,800, now 1,500. You mentioned the maintenance of office equipment. You calculate the difference between the two. 3,800 minus 1,500. 2,300 difference. Now, maintenance of equipment is an expense. You agree? It's a payment. Now, why would this be a problem for us? It's a problem because if you don't maintain your equipment, it could lead to bigger problems. Your equipment can be totally broken and then you have to buy new equipment, which will be more costly. So we have to spend the money on on the maintenance of our equipment, right? So that we can make sure that we don't have breakdowns in future, right? That will cost us. Maybe the workers must stop working and then we lose money because our equipment is not working. Then you have advertising. So you mention the name of the expense or payment that you have identified and you calculate the difference between it, 2,400 minus 1,000. It gives us 1.4. You can also calculate, it's always advisable to calculate the percentage to say that it's this percentage more or that percentage more or less in this case. So why is it a bad thing? Because really we're saving money. Why are we complaining? Yes, we're complaining because advertising is linked to sales. If we advertise more, then our sales would be more. So it's not good to underspend on advertising because it will affect our sales. And when you comment on actual and budgeted figures, remember, we link our advertising to sales. We link our wastage of materials to training of workers. We link our security to stolen items in the business, right? So it's not just good or bad. You must look at what it affects in the long run. Okay. All right. So I said your payments that I've identified, your drawings, and I've identified your maintenance. And I've identified my advertising, right? And I said you use amounts or percentages to say it's this percentage more. Okay. What is your advice for drawings? You can say the owner must be more realistic or he must stick to the budget that he said he wants to take. Or maintenance, there must be maintenance. Otherwise, further breakdowns can lead to bigger problems in our business. And advertising, is linked to sales. The more you advertise, the more your sales. And we want lots of sales so that we can have lots of money in our business. Refer to information J. Provide 2 reasons why Jane should be concerned about the control over debtors. Quote figures. Here's information J. Debtors age analysis on the 30th of October. Remember earlier I said you look at 2 things. You look at the credit terms and the credit limits, right? They say credit terms are 30 days. 30 days. And the total earned owed is 62,500. You look at current 31%, 43%. But look at this, 18 and 8%. Let's add up 18 plus 8%, 26%. These two added together. 26% of our debtors do not stick to their credit terms, right? So we are concerned. They ask us, why are we concerned? And we can say 26% of our debtors owe us for 60 days and more. Okay, that brings us to the end of this question. Any questions from your side? Also remember, earlier I did not mention VAT when I said VAT is also part of the calculations. Remember, VAT can also be there. So don't say I said it mustn't be there. VAT can also be in the paper. It's normally part of your stock calculation. So make sure you also go over your VAT this weekend. VAT is calculated at VAT is calculated at 15%. Almost the teachers had my head there. VAT is calculated at 15%. And if I can give you some advice, do a VAT control account. You struggle with those calculations. You put the calculations in the wrong places, plus the wrong amount, minus the wrong amount. I don't think you struggle calculating the 15% or the 15 over 115. You don't struggle with that, but you do struggle to understand when to plus and when to minus. So do yourself a favor and go over the VAT control account and make sure you know that format. So if it's there on Monday, you know, you open your T account and you rather put your figures in the right places there. Okay. And just a little hint, don't write debit and credit. Just put your amounts there. Mr. Foshia is going to kill me for that one. Unless you are sure where they are. Because if you write debit and credit, then your answers must then be correct for debit and credit. Okay. But make sure that you know that input accounts go on the debit side and your output accounts go on the credit side. Your input amounts are normally the purchases that we make, and the output amounts are normally the sales. But it's not that just that basic. Go and look at all the accounts that falls under input and all the accounts that falls under output. Now, make sure you know the difference between zero rated and VAT exempted items, right? Look at your parents' still slips there for ShopRite or Pick and Pay, and then they clearly indicate there the items that are zero rated or VAT exempt items on your slip. Okay, make sure that you sign the registers for us.
Ma'am,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
you please go back to 4.6?
4.6 in the previous question. Yes, ma'am. What is the problem with 4.6? I think I've thrown my 4.6 away now. Yes, just tell me about 4.6. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yes, what about 4.6? Hello? Okay, there was a question about 4.6. Provide 2 reasons why Jane should be concerned about the control over the debtors.
Yes.
Can you please explain 4.5?
Okay. I said one reason could be the debtors, 18% or 26% of them are not within their credit limits, right? If you look at the 31%, we can also bring that in there to say that only 30%, 31% of debtors are current debtors, right? And then we can also look at the payments, the cash received from debtors. We expected 67,490, but only 43,870 paid. So even though we give the debtors a discount of 2%, remember we talked about a discount of 2% here, they are still not encouraged to pay their debts on time, right? So that's basically what it ties in with your age analysis, that one. Okay. Can I move on? All right. Let's carry on. This is our last question. At the end, if I have time, I will then allow some little bit of time. But if I don't have time, I'm saying already good luck for Monday. Make sure you read your questions carefully and do your best. If you, like I said earlier, if you saw this yesterday wasn't your day, make sure that Monday is your day. Okay.
Yes, Flo.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Cash
Flo.
budget and internal control. 30
Yes, Flo.
minutes again.
Yes, Flo.
Yes. Yes,
Can you
my dear.
please repeat Roman figure 2 in 4.2?
In the previous one.
Yes, please.
Roman figure 2. Okay. Here it is. Remember, we were given the 20,800. And they said to us, this is the money paid for 4 sales assistants, right? And I took that 20,800, I divide by 4. So I said the monthly salary for one person is 5,200. Because remember, the new sales assistant will be appointed on this 5,200. But the others who earn currently 5,200, their salaries will be increased by 7.5%, right? So I took that 5,200 and I times it by 107.5 to get my 5,590. Then I said the 4 workers who was there, they're going to increase and their total will then be 22,360. Then I'm adding the 5,200. This is the new worker. These are the 4 old workers plus 1 new worker, right? So when I add all of that, I get 27,560.
Bye, thank you, Flo. Thank you.
Okay, my dear. All right. Let's start with the last question of the day. Cash budget and internal control. Mesopotamia wholesalers, you are provided with an incomplete cash budget which had been prepared for 3 months ended 31 October 2022. This business is owned by Jan Miller. Refer to information A and B. Complete the creditors payment schedule. Now, previously we had a debtors payment schedule, debtors collection, and now we have the creditors. The two is basically the same. You follow the pattern that was given to you, right, to do your calculations. For the period August to October, calculate the amounts indicated by an asterisk. 4.2 calculated the loan amount that will be repaid on the 1st of October. 4.3 referred to information C. Jan compared the budgeted figures to the actual figures for July. Note the markup applied by the business is 60%. Remember I said they always give you the markup, right? Calculate the amount saved per meter of packing material. per unit. Jan is pleased that the total sales have increased. You have some concerns about this. Provide 2 problems that you have identified and quote figures to support your answers. The fleet of delivery vehicles does not seem to be managed well. Provide 2 points of evidence to prove this. Quote figures to support your answer. Remember, whenever you answer, you be specific and you use figures. And if you can convert those figures to percentages, even better when you do the cash budget. The question on budgeting. Jan took 2 decisions in July regarding advertising and salaries to the salesperson. Refer to information C. Explain what these decisions were and calculate additional cost of these decisions. Explain whether these 2 decisions were beneficial to the business or not. Quote figures or calculations. Apart from the points covered in the question above, identify one other expense item that is likely to negatively affect the business and provide a reason. Okay, now we've read. Now we'll start with our calculation. The first part says go to A and do the calculations, right? So I'm going to let my answer sheet guide me here. Complete the creditors payment schedule for the period August to October. A, interest on the loan is 18%. Just get into focus. Interest on the loan, 18%. Additional information on the cash budget for October, expected cost of sales, August 428, September 436, and October 443. Stock sold is replaced in the month of sales. 40%, remember earlier I said they might give you a percentage, or they said like they said in the previous one, all of it. Now in this question, they said 40% of trading stock is purchased on credit, right? So if we have to calculate our credit purchases, then we must take that 40% into account. Then they give you the creditors payment schedule. The business pays their creditors as follows. 10% within the month of purchase to qualify for a 5% discount. First, you calculate the 10%, then you calculate the 5%. 75% in the month following the month of purchase, and 15% in the second month following the month of purchase. So this one is 10% within in the month, 1 month later, and this one is 2 months later. An amount will be repaid on the loan on 1 October, right? So I'm just going to stop there and we go to our calculations, right? Okay. So once again, remember what I said with the debtors collection. I like to read my things. Then I say June for June would be 10%. June for July would be 75%. June for August would be 15%. Then it's done. There's nothing there. There's nothing for October there, right? July for July, 10%. July for August, 75%. July for September, 15%, which means there's nothing there for October. Then August for August, 10%. August for September, 75%. In August for October, 15%. Okay. September for September, 10%. September for October, 75%. 75% of what? Of the credit purchases. October for September, obviously nothing, you don't go back. October for October, 10%. Don't forget the 5% discount. But first you calculate the 10, then the 5. And I see I have a missing amount here, so I need to use which amount to get to that figure? I'm going to need my cost of sales. I need my cost of sales. And what did I say to us? 40% of my purchases, 40% of trading stock is purchased on credit, right? And the trading stock purchases is linked to this cost of sales. Which month are we looking for? For October, right? Because why are we looking for October? They say stock sold is replaced in the month of sales. So we're looking for October and we're going to calculate 40% of that October amount. Help me with that calculation quickly. 443,000 times 40%, and it gives me 177,200. Let's read again. These are our cost of sales. It was given to us, right? We didn't have to do anything. But they say to us, stock sold is replaced in the month of sales. So if I'm looking for October credit purchases, I'm looking for October cost of sales. Then they go further. They say 40% of trading stock is purchased on credit, which means this amount is equal to 100%, but I only need 40%. So I take 443,000 times 40%, and it gives me 177,200. 177,200 is then my credit purchases for October. 177,200. Okay. Once again, where did I get that? I said 443,000 times 40%. Why do I take 443? Because they said to me the stock is replaced in the same month of sales. What is the cost of sales for October? It was given to you at 443, and your answer is then 177,200. Now I have all my missing figures. Now I can calculate my percentages as I read them to you, right? So 171,200 times 15%, and it gives me 25,000. Just make a line. You don't have to write these percentages, but it helps me to read them right? So you can make it in a pencil or something, not as big as mine, so that you can just know. So don't put them so that they can confuse the marker now there. Put them little in a pencil there, 15, 75, 10%, and so on, so that you can get your calculations clear. Because we don't struggle to calculate, but sometimes we struggle to put them in the right places. 130,800, 138,800. And then 177,200 times, I said first the 10%, and then you calculate your 5%. So it gives me 16,834. Now I'm going to add up these three amounts to get my total, and this total is taken to your cash budget. So 16,834 plus 138,800 plus 25,680. It gives me 173,314. You see, maybe the first time you saw it, you think to yourself, what is this? I've never seen this thing, but it's almost the same as it's basically the same as your debtors collection, right? But it's just a creditors payment schedule. Okay. Calculate the amount that will be repaid on October 2022. I said when you see this calculation, you make your X or Z or B, anything you want to make. You write it the way you would normally calculate it. Interest on the loan is 18%. Then I write 18 over 100, and I write 1 over 12, and I get my answer, right? Now I must go and look. They said, what do they want? An amount will be repaid on the loan on 1 October, right? An amount will be repaid on the loan. Now, how will I get that amount? They don't even give me the loan amount or anything else for that reason, right? Let's see what we do have. Remember what I said, cash budget sometimes looks like there's nothing, but I promise you there's something for you there. Look at this, 5,7, and then 5,7, and then it goes to 4,8. Calculate the difference between these two amounts for me. And this is August, September, October. So I have my monthly interest here. Can you see that? So 5,7, and why is the interest now less? Obviously, now when I repay the portion of the loan, my interest will become less, right? So 5,7 minus 4,800, it gives me 900, right? So the portion that was repaid would be 900. So then you put your 900 in front, and you turn everything around here, okay? This now is the same as that. So I'm going to say 100 over 18 times 12 over 1. Okay, so I'm turning my calculation around. So then I say 900 times 100 divide by 18 times 12, and it gives me 60,000. Okay, why did I first write it like this? Because if you put your 60,000 here, remember 60,000 now replaces X because I've already calculated it. So then you say 60,000 times 18 divided by 100 times 1 divided by 12. Then I get back to that 900, right? So I write it like that so it becomes easy. Then I know I turn my figures upside down, right? I put the 900 or whatever your amount is in front, and then I turn, you see, 100 on top, 18 below, 12 on top, 1 below, and it gives me 60,000. 60,000 is then the portion of the loan. I just like to show you again now we got to that 900, and the 900 is used then to get back to the 60,000. Okay. Sometimes they ask you what was the amount of the loan before the time. Then you can take this 57 and you just replace it with the 900. Then I can get the loan before the time. Or if I want the loan now with this interest of 4,800, I also just replace the 48 with the 900, right? Then it will give me the loan now. This will give me the loan before the repayment. And now in our case, we wanted the repayment. So sometimes they ask you the amount before the repayment, they ask you the repayment, or they ask you the amount after the repayment. Then the same calculation will help you to get any of those figures. Okay. Calculate the amount saved per meter of the packing material or bubble wrap per unit. Here in C, we read about bubble wraps and packing materials. Here they say Jan found a new supplier who charged less for the bubble wrap use for packaging the products that he sells. 1.7 meters of bubble wrap is used per box. 300 boxes were packed and sold during the month. Now let's find our bubble wrap here. There it is, packing materials. Okay, what do you do if you have two amounts? You calculate the difference, right? So packing materials, it was 16,180 minus 15,160. It gives me 1,020. Eh? So 1,020, put it here, is the extra money I paid. But the question says to me, they want the amount saved per meter, right? Now I must work out that 1,020 per meter. So what am I going to do? Divide by 1.7. Why? They want per meter and the bubble wrap per box is 1.7 meters. So I'm saying 1,020 divide by 1.7 and it gives me 600, right? That's just saving per meter, right? 600 times your 3,000 boxes. So 600 divided by your 3,000 boxes and it gives me, and times 100, it gives me 20 cents, right? 20 cents. So the saving was 20 rands per meter. Remember when I divided by 1.7, I wanted to get the per meter saving, right? So calculation, 1,020 divided by 1.7, and that gave me 600. 600 over the 3,000 of boxes times 100 gave me 20 cents. Okay, so 20 cents per meter. Okay, interesting calculation. Jan is pleased that the total sales have increased. You have some concerns about this. Provide two problems that you've identified and quote figures to support your answers. Let's look at the sales. There's our total sales, 600 budgeted, actual was 672. So it increased with 72,000, which is correct. But the cash sales was budgeted 150, but the actual was 70. Okay, there's your first problem. Your cash sales is not even half of the budgeted amount, right? And your credit sales is 450,000 and it's supposed and the actual was 602. This year will affect your cash flow situation. So a big problem you have, although sales increased to 72,000 and Jan wants to be happy, his cash sales is almost, let's work it out as a percentage. The cash sales was 150,000 budgeted, but it decreased, it was only 70%, right? So it's almost 53%. 150,000 minus 70,000 gives me 80%. 150,000 minus 70,000 is 80,000 less. 80,000 divided by 150,000. So it's 53% less than what we have budgeted, right? So use those percentages in your calculation. If you look at your credit sales, it budgeted was 450,000, but it's now 602,000. Let's calculate the difference. 602,000 minus 450,000, 152,000. Divide by your 50. So it is 33.7% more than what you've budgeted for it, right? So that's your two problems that you can identify there. And that will lead you to the deficits that you don't want, right? Negative or surplus or deficits in your business. So you don't want to have such a situation with too much of credit sales, because credit sales means you're going to wait for your money, right? Okay. Okay, they say the fleet of delivery vehicles does not seem to be managed well. Provide 2 points of evidence to prove this.
Can you
Let's
please
look at
go
our
back?
delivery vehicles. Hello? Can I just finish and then we can ask questions at the end?
Can you please go back to?
My dear, hold on to your question. I'm just going to finish and then we'll come back to it, okay? The fleet of delivery vehicles does not seem to be managed well. Provide 2 points of evidence to prove this. Delivery vehicles, there we have maintenance on vehicles, and there we have delivery expenses, right? So let's see what's happening. Maintenance on vehicles, the budgeted was 17,500, but the actual was 4,800. What did I say in the previous question? There must be maintenance. Otherwise, if you don't maintain your equipment or your vehicles, like in this case, the vehicles can have a breakdown, and this breakdown will even cause more problems or more expenses for you, because it's costly to fix the thing if you have not maintained it well. Then you have delivery expenses, including fuel. If you look at our budgeters was 20,000, but the actual was 42,000. So this is 22,000 or more than 100% more than what we've budgeted for, right? So maintenance of vehicles, you work out the percentage here, and then you say that we should spend, we've underspent on this one. So we're definitely not working well with it, because we need to spend money on maintenance in order to ensure that our vehicles stay in a working condition and they don't let us down. And then delivery expenses, it's too high. Maybe customers can pay for the delivery, or you schedule your deliveries better, that the car goes all in the same direction and not have so much of deliveries. Or you increase your delivery cost so that you can have less expenses on that, because that delivery cost is very high. So we've underspent on the maintenance of the vehicles. If you calculate it, it will be almost, we can calculate. And then the delivery expense is also more than 100%. Calculate the percentage also there for me to say what is the percentage, but be very specific in your answer. Jan took two decisions in July regarding the advertising and the salaries of the salespeople. I remember this question in last year's end of year paper, and the question was very badly answered. They said Jan took two decisions in July regarding advertising and the salaries of the salesperson. Let's start with advertising. Advertising, it was 15,000 and now it's 25,000, which is good. Why? What did I say about advertising? It's linked to sales. So the more you advertise, the more your sales can increase, right? So advertising budget, and this is done to increase your sales, right? And the other one that they are complaining about, they say two decisions, salaries. The salaries of the salesperson, there the person was budgeted at 40, but then they only got 12,000. Why? They've now introduced a commission. What does commission income mean? Commission income is an amount that you are paid. Let's say for every one you're selling shoes. For every pair of shoes you sell, you will get 100 rands. So if you sell 5 pairs of shoes, then your commission will be 500 rands on those shoes. So commission is the income that a person gets. So normally the salespersons would get a fixed salary of 40,000. But that fixed salary or basic salary has now been reduced to 12,000, and then the people are going to get commission. So which means the more you sell, the higher your salary will be. So a person who doesn't work so hard might not get a good salary, because if he work for a basic salary, whether he sells or not, the basic salary will always be the same. But with the commission, you have to put a little bit more effort into it to get a little bit more money. If that helps you a little bit understanding what commission income means, right? So what is the decision he took? He decided to decrease their basic salaries from 40,000 to 12,000, and then he gave them a commission of 66,150. And the second part of this question says, explain whether these two decisions were beneficial to the business or not. And they say, quote, figures. If you look at your commission here, the cost of these decisions for salespersons, let's just work out. He used to pay 40, now it's minus 12, so he's paying 28,000 less for that, right? And then the other decision that he took was advertising. So let's just put the 28,000 here. So it's minus 28,000, then 15,000 minus 25,000. So he's increased these 10,000, he increased his advertising with 10,000, right? And then that commission is also added now. So his cost here is 10,000 plus 66,150 minus 28,000. So his cost of his decision is actually more expensive for his business, right? They ask, was it beneficial to this business? Then I would say no, because it's actually costing him much more, right? Apart from the points covered in the questions above, identify one other expense that is likely to negatively affect the business and provide a reason. For that, we must look again at our list of expenses, right? And remember, I said to you, it must be links, like sales and advertising is linked. Uh, Training of workers is linked to wastage, right? Security is linked to stolen items. Now, if you look at training of workers here, we budgeted 22,000 for training of workers, yet we only spent 3,000 on the training of the workers, which means this could lead to more wastage in the business because our workers are not well trained. If you also look at security, we budgeted 8,000, but we only spent 2,600. This could lead to more stolen items or stolen stock in the business because we did not spend the allocated budget on the security. So don't just say, oh, we're saving money. No, we're not saving money because in the long run, these uh, employees who are not well trained, they will cost us more in terms of wastage of materials. Okay, that in a nutshell was our last question. Questions quickly for 5 minutes before we call it a day. The lady who had a question earlier? Question answered. Okay.
Yes, Frau.
Any questions? Yes, dear?
Yes. Regarding the cash budget, is there another alternative to determine where our percentages should be allocated in terms of our months?
What do you mean another alternative?
Is there another method to use to see where our percentages go on each month?
I think what I've shared with you, I think that's the most easy one, unless one of our teachers want to share another method that maybe works for you in your school.
Okay.
But that's the best way that I can read it like that. Then I know exactly where my months fall there. You obviously don't have to read it like that, but it makes it a bit easier for you.
Okay, Fro. So another question is there going to be a point whereas not all of our percentages are not provided and we have to calculate them?
Yes, there was a question like that where you had to calculate the debtors and then you had to add, I can't remember the question, but a year or two ago there was a question where you had to calculate the percentage debtors. We will look for that question and try and send it to the schools, but I can't now offhand remember. But there could be a question like that where you have to calculate and you have to work with the credit terms, if I remember correctly, and it helped you, the credit terms helped you to get to that percentage. It's just I can't remember now so well, but I think it was 30 days, and then it meant that all the debtors were owing us for, or whatever was paid was for 30 days. But like I said, I can't remember, but they could ask you to calculate the percentages. Remember, they try and come up with different ways to ask the question always. So we must not be bound by questions. We must understand the concept of how it works.
Okay, thank you, Flo.
All right, Lasir. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am, I asked you to go back to 4.1.
4.1, that's one that we were busy now. This one.
Yes, that one.
Okay, where do you need help? Yes, dear? Or you just want to see?
Yes, I just want to see.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to say thank you. Thank you, boys and girls, for this session. We really enjoyed it with you, and good luck for Monday.
Hello?
Hello, yes,
Thank
sir?
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.